So I'm going to be putting together this Nintendo DSi XL. I have a motherboard picked out. I have yet to choose screens and a shell. Just want to get a good number on that serial number. There we go. I haven't quite nailed down what screens I'm going to use, so for now these are kind of tentative. It looks like I have two good screens for the rose gold console, so I was intending on possibly building into this rose gold, but I'm not going to make that final decision until I see the screens. One of the tricks is trying to match these screens, because they will slightly differ. Just the way that, from what I understand, the way that just they're calibrated out of the factory. Every DSi XL screen is just that little bit different. I also haven't done this in almost a year, so it's going to be a lot of me remembering how to do this too. I think this microphone connector is a little damaged. Oh, come on. If I can avoid it, I'm not going to replace it. These microphones are pretty simple. And it's just the connector that's a little squished. There we go. Had to persuade it a little. I need to turn off my overhead light as I get closer to checking these screens out. I sorted all my screens away. I did not exactly label them the best, so I'm assuming both of these are good screens. I have them labeled as just debris underneath the lens and the digitizer. Both fairly easy to remedy, just something I'll have to do a little later. I might not be able to do it here. Okay, all the main components are put in. Battery is assumed to have at least a little bit of charge. Ooh, I'd say as far as color goes, I think those match really well. Hopefully this person doesn't have any interesting photos. I'm just gonna keep sort of... Yeah, I'm very pleased with how these are matching up. Let me see kind of what I meant by debris underneath the lens. Get some rubbing alcohol. I'm just gonna grab a Q-tip and just kind of rub around on the screen while the screen's on. Just see if there's any debris. Basically just looking for like any like tiny black dots that I'm not able to get off with a Q-tip. I think as far as the top screen is concerned, it's pretty good. Very good, okay. I think I do notice just a tiny bit of yellowing just at the very top. It's a little hard to say, it's not very noticeable. I think there might be a little piece of debris right here. And I know around this bezel piece there's quite a bit of dirt and debris that I'll have to just take off. I do kind of see it right there. Okay. I didn't have any problems with the top screen though. Well, shucks. The intention of putting in the camera and the microphone were to test them. I don't like crimping or pressing in that top screen like I have been. I don't like doing that more than a couple times. It puts a lot of stress on that ribbon cable. And that ribbon cable is very fragile. I am noticing the top screen flickering. I think. The flickering is one of those issues that it's very difficult to see. But I think I see it. As to why the touch screen isn't working, I'm not entirely... Oh? There we go. Both cameras work. Hello, random kid. Touchscreen's being a little choppy. Oh god. La 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 la! Alright, I heard myself. Top screen flickering, I haven't really exactly nailed down why. Maybe a capacitor is bad on this motherboard. But if I do notice it again, I can swap out the motherboard and test that theory. But for now, I'll move forward. I'm gonna turn this on. So this will be the shell I'm working with. That serial number will be important for my records, which I'm gonna put in right now. Okay. Motherboard is assumed to be fine. Obviously booted, launched apps, all the all the various components on it look fine. So what I like to do is wrap the top screen ribbon cable in Captain tape just to give it a little more support so I don't accidentally break it. I'm just gonna do this off of the paper towel so I don't. Not the prettiest, but what it will give me in security and comfort is well worth it. So, I might have to grab a reference image of how the top screen assembly goes together. I do have this brown one where I need to replace the digitizer. I can probably take a sneak peek at its top screen assembly. I have a vague idea, but I just want to be sure. Okay, so the camera goes underneath the Wi-Fi antenna. Both speakers feed around. Wi-Fi antenna feeds above the speaker. Okay. Now let me grab all the necessary components. I think it is a top screen screw. Looks like it. Putting in the microphone. Now, I need to should probably start by getting these through the hinge. Toolbox. I've had luck using a bobby pin, getting these two ribbon cables through the hinge. Sort of gives me a point to coil around and also a means of pulling. This can be very dangerous, of course, as it will put stress on the ribbon cable, especially when pulling it. The Kapton tape does make it a little harder to coil, but it will make it a lot more resistant for me when I actually go to pull it through. Let go. To kind of encourage it in. Usually the camera ribbon kind of having a hard time getting over there's a little ridge inside this hinge that keeps this metal ring, wherever it bumped off to, from sliding in to the top screen assembly. Fair to say I'm a little out of practice. Try and move the camera out to the outer edge of this ribbon cable before I coil. I believe it's this camera ribbon that keeps getting caught on the inside of the shell. Camera ribbon's not coming through. The more time I spend doing this, the less comfortable I get. Now there was a trick I learned while doing new 3DS repair. What you do is you feed in the outer ribbon, and then you feed in the inner ribbon. Because on the 3DSs and new 3DSs, they have 3 ribbon cables, which I was having a very hard time justifying using the bobby pin. I think I ended up tearing my top screen on my new 3DS because of it. A little hard to say if that was actually the reason. Now, because I put Kapton tape in this one's going to be a little more stubborn. But now with this, the camera ribbon in, which was my sort of the sticking point, this should go in very easily. Which it does. Sort of the benefits of having both in the bobby pin, though, is I could easily slide on the ring. What I could do is sort of co-op with the bobby pin just to put the ring on. A marriage of two strategies, as it were. Alright. That was a bit uncomfy. Top screen. I might want to double check that these are indeed top screens. I don't have that many rose gold shells that are in good shape. This might actually be my last one. The rose gold consoles were pretty hard to come by. Even harder to come by in good shape. And I have pretty high standards. Okay, they do use top shell screws. Cool. Quickly wipe off this hinge. May have come from a slightly water damaged console. Put those in. The flash diffuser goes into this part of the shell. Now to go for routing the speakers. What would be really helpful as if they made transparent shells for DSi XLs. The transparent shell I have on a DSi has been very useful at cable routing. There's definitely a way to do it. And I always try to follow the most, well, the way it came from factory. Especially when it goes to routing the Wi-Fi antenna and the microphone cable. There's a certain science to how those are routed in. It's definitely not, I don't think it's as important as it is on the DSi. I think the DSi XL has a little more slack to it. But it's something I want to get right, nonetheless. It looks nicer. The shell was intended to fit those wires in that way. So I just think all in all, it's just overall better. Before I get too far, I want to sanity check the top screen, make sure I didn't tear the ribbon. I don't think I did, but I was manhandling it quite a lot more than I usually like to. Just to kind of keep it in a spot. I'll just do that. I have all the components needed to boot already plugged in. Top screen. See, there's spots on this motherboard that need to be cleaned around this right button, which would be A. Battery is not in. I think I have it underneath this DSi. Yes, I do. Still boots. I credit that to the Kapton tape. Okay, I need to kind of declutter here. Let's get this guy back together. What really sucks is the environment that I'm in makes it really difficult to replace things like digitizers and lenses. My area is really dusty. Okay, now let's finish up the top screen. I did flick the hinge, there it is. Yeah, all things considered, this rose gold is in really good shape. Not perfect by no means. But even just looking at the glossy top screen, there's some good scratches, but I'd be perfectly happy with it. And I think as far as like shells go, not only do rose gold shell replacement shells, I don't think those even exist. And replacement shells are always, I don't think I've ever seen one that's been impressive. I've found way too many flaws with them. Just the fitment isn't right. Pieces just don't feel right. Just everything about it just doesn't work in my mind. That's really all I needed to do. So I need to feed it through this. I'm going to just give it a quick inspection, see if there's anything that needs to be cleaned out if needed. I did clean these under soap and water, but I'm usually cleaning quite a few of them at a time, so it's possible that I just miss a spot. Everything looks good. So I'll get this fed through. Oh, I see what's going on here. Well, despite me kind of hyping up Captain Tape around the top screen, it's really starting to fight me. I'll also just chalk that up to being out of practice. There we go. Usually the Kapton tape isn't this difficult to work with. Usually the hardest part I find is just coiling the ribbon because it's a little stiffer because of the Kapton tape, which is good and bad. Well, I would say, even though it's a little more difficult to work with, well beats the odd, or if it increases the odds of the top screen surviving, it's worth it to me. I'll take a little bit more difficulty than a broken ribbon cable, because that just means this entire screen is shot. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. I could and I have replaced it, or I could and I have fixed ribbon cables, but I would never bet on that being a long-lasting fix. I usually need a pretty aggressive tool to put this hinge in sometimes. Probably shouldn't jump to my... Okay. Let me get this back into place so it doesn't throw my little screens out of the way. Alright. Hinge feels very good. Get the top shell back on. Since I have it off like this, and swab off the lens for the top screen and kind of look through it. It looks good. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but unless you're using it for a game or utility, the camera is functionally useless. It's far too poor to do anything with. And unlike the DSi, holding the camera in is a little difficult. There usually is a little stick of tape that I might be able to take advantage of. Okay. And just like that, we got the top screen assembly. Hinge is very nice. I'll ignore the screws for now. Now we have the two ribbon cables. So here is what I was talking about, the camera and the antenna. I need to sort of quickly look at a reference for that. I vaguely have an idea. No, those pictures won't show it. Hopefully iFixit has a good picture. Because I don't really have any deconstructed DSIs with me right now. Let's do the motherboard disassembly. Right here. Oh, this is a DSi. Oops. Yeah, ain't gonna do anything for me. The routing for the microphone and the antenna are about the same. Just the colors are different. Here we go. Microphone on the inner. Okay. That's kind of what I expected. I have to pull it, kind of make this as tight as I can, reasonably. And then it looks like it's on the upper. Okay. And that lines up with the bends that are in this ribbon cable. Because with the DSi, you route it all the way to the bottom. Obviously, the shell's a lot smaller, so the cables aren't that terribly long. Then I'm going to have to look for buttons to put onto this thing. Okay. Now that I'm this far, I like putting a little piece of Kapton tape right there, so if I have to kind of lever the motherboard in and out to change things, it doesn't yank up my routing. Wow, I kind of went a little overkill on that tape. Need a little something something to hold it down. Okay, so buttons will be next. I do want to turn my attention to the motherboard and power daughter board real quick. Quick aside. As well as the bottom screen. I want to get these nice and cleaned up real quick. As for why the touchscreen was being a little dodgy, I think I found the reason. Maybe it's actually a little hard to tell if... You know what? I haven't broken it out, but I should get my little camera set up. I'm going to use less of a camera, more of a digital microscope. I kind of think I see what's going on. I need to get more USB connectors over here. Should probably just put a hub right over here too. Alright, I'm gonna have to add this as a source on OBS. Video capture device. Digital microscope. Okay. So let me sort of zoom in on these letterings just to kind of see. Oh god, okay. I need to rotate it 180. Alright. So kind of what I was looking at is this connector right here. Let me get this on my main screen. Okay, there we go. Let me... I can kind of see it. Looks like all those traces are intact. I thought I saw one or two of these that were completely broken off. And it could be broken off. Lo and behold, I think I see it right there. And there. That would kind of explain a little. I wonder if I can solder that. Let me kind of get some things set up here. Let me actually move it onto this platform. If I can't fix it, it's not the biggest deal. These digitizers are kind of a dime a dozen. I might end up just replacing it anyway. I think this is more just for academic curiosity. Because once I kind of peel back this tape, it's going to be... Yeah, you can kind of see So I'm guessing the only times I was getting touch input is when these two little pieces were actually contacting. Now, are these just the bare copper traces? Grab my voltmeter. Have it set to continuity. Now my probes are real big. I need to get a better multimeter with smaller probes. Well, or just smaller probes. Yeah, so this is just bare copper. Okay, cool. Yeah, and just the act of just this bending as many times as it did just finally stressed them and broke them. Let me first turn down the light on this thing. Goodness gracious. And I'll check my solder. I might have to grab a new... I have smaller pens. Might be able to get away with this one, but it might be a little overkill. It's kind of overkill. I have a smaller iron. Just gonna take a little bit of setting up. And if this repair looks good enough, I would really have no problem using it. Here we go, my little itty bitty angle tip. Let my iron turn on for a second. Some water on my sponge. And in me. $350 might be a little aggressive. Okay. Pretty much doing this exclusively in the microscope. Oh, wow. Well, to say it did the job is a bit of an understatement. It's doing a very good job. Perks of having the right tool for the job. Now I can still see the crack. All right. Check it this time. Make sure that they're not bridging with each other. Well, that seemed to have done it. Huh, well. Color me impressed. I guess the last time I did ribbon cable repair was... Holy cow, that was on a new 3DS top screen. And those traces were small. Very, very small. I'm perfectly okay using that. Whoa, wrong video source. I'll sort of put this camera in a place that's relatively accessible, just in case I need it again. Not quite exactly what I had in mind. Something like that. Okay. This should still bend. It looks like it does. I know one of the things I pointed out was around this like bezel piece, just where dirt and crap collects. Yeah. I find that it's easy enough to just try and take it off. Hopefully keep the adhesive intact and not use too much rubbing alcohol to damage the screen. Kind of a little pool. You have to be very careful because these little borders will break. They're very brittle. Basically, anytime I'm feeling kind of resistance, I do a little bit of rubbing alcohol and just through, I think, capillary action, it sort of sticks to this adhesive and just the adhesive soaks it up. All right. Yeah, you can kind of see just on how even right there is just gross. Give the edges of this digitizer a nice good cleaning. I do see like a chunk or something. You can even see it on camera right there. Don't know what that is, but I can try lightly lifting up the digitizer and hitting it with a puff of air. Hit it with a microfiber cloth. This screen is still in pretty good shape. A little scratched at the center, but it's a touch screen, so if you really want a perfect screen, you'd get a new digitizer. Or use a screen protector. Pretty good, pretty good. Alright, let's see what I can do here. I have to grab Scotch tape. Be gone. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something I really usually don't like doing. I'm in an unfinished basement, so it's just raining dust on me pretty much all the time. Orientation. Yeah, it's this way. Mission successful, I think. Let me get this line back up and then I'll just kind of press it down by hand. Just with how I remember these going down, it favors the bottom. So it lines up perfectly with the bottom. There's just a little ridge here on the top. There's still a few specks of dust in there. Again, this is kind of the endless war. We're on the bottom of the digitizer, which is annoying because I can't use Scotch tape there. Alright. That was a piece of dust I couldn't really get off that easily. I can't use Scotch tape on the digitizers because it will rip up the film. There's like a super thin, transparent film on the back of these digitizers. I don't know if that's like... I have to assume that's part of the touch input component of this digitizer. Basically, it would destroy it. Not something I want to do. Now that it's out of the way, I wanted to just quickly rub around this border. Get as much of it. Looks like some of the tape kind of gave way right here. Trying to decide if I just want to redo the tape. It's a bit of a pain. This tape's pretty grody. It'll give me a chance to work on this bezel a little more. I don't have to worry about ruining the bottom screen. I can just drench this thing in rubbing alcohol so I can easily take this up without worrying about it. Ooh, ow. Must have a cut on my finger. Yummy. I'll probably hold off putting tape on this until I can confirm that the digitizer works, because I don't want to stick this on only to find out that no, the digitizer is still busted. Trying to pick out all the crud. At least all the big chunks. Well, that looks a lot better. Just gonna fold this. So now I want to look at the motherboard. Backside of the motherboard looked alright. Front side, well, also looks alright. Just a couple spots. There's around this A button. Don't know what that is. A little bit of liquid or something. Ooh, putting up a hell of a fight. There it goes. Beautiful. Everything else looks alright. Alright, on to buttons. Now this shell's in fair, I would say, shape. Not perfect. I think fair is maybe being a little too harsh. I'd say good to very good. Here it is, my little cup of water. I don't like cleaning shell pieces with rubbing alcohol. It's a little too aggressive. Get the membranes ready. I'll usually chuck these in a laundry bag and into the dishwasher. I don't think they really do that. It does that good of a job. It was something I tried, but if anything, it's better than nothing. It puts soap and water to them, and with some of these that I get, or some of these DSIs that I've gotten, They've definitely needed soap and water. Why? X B start select home A. Oh, and D-pad. Also need to get a LED diffuser. Or, well, they are diffusers. These guys. Yeah, that LED diffuser's a little grody. Give all the buttons a little inspection before I put them in. I don't believe there's a directionality to these, but I'm a little superstitious. Just trying to get the crap off this LED diffuser. Okay, that's good. Put the motherboard or the bottom screen in for now without the bezel. Oops. It's just going in kind of weird. I think it's just because it doesn't have its bezel in. Well, the bezel doesn't have adhesive. I could probably just rest it in there just to make sure the fitment's good. Alright, since I was manhandling all these ribbon cables, wipe them off. Oopsie. Bent that little retention clip a little more than I intended. There we go. I don't know why I'm routing this. I need to take it out to put in the bezel. I know I need to route these guys so they don't get pinched in the shell. I might put in just a few screws. Or I will put in a few screws just to... Motherboard black. There are 3 of those. And battery board. I won't put in all of them. What I like about these OEM shells as well is these screw posts don't strip that easily. The aftermarket shell will strip after you cut the threads. Okay, thanks. I think that'll be good. Just 2 around the D-pad. Get the camera plugged in. I'll have to put in shoulder buttons and put in all the assemblies within this bottom shell. Let me turn off my light so I can look at the screens again. Yeah, those are nice. Let me wipe this console so I don't have to see that kid's face again. Dreams come true. How sweet. And obviously the touchscreen's working. Cool. That was an easy fix. I'll have to do an actual touchscreen tester on it. Make sure there's no dead quadrants. Should be on my R4 card. Have it right here. Had my R4 in my capture device. And I don't see that flicker. That's a really hard thing for me to see. I know it exists. I can probably take off my small solder iron. I usually don't need an iron this small, but I keep it around for cases like that digitizer. Get my light turned back on. I could grab the stuff for the lower shell assembly. Don't remember off the top of my head where my stylus cover is. Right. Sure, it's 2008. Don't take me back. Obviously pink. Come on. Right, I needed a lot of stuff for the lower screen assembly. Or not lower screen, but lower shell. Holy moly. Just a little bit overwhelmed with this, so I'm gonna have to grab stuff for this later. I want to get this. I did not want to do the screen, the camera. Want to get a screen tester going. And a stylus that isn't just a plastic pry tool. I actually have an official DSi XL fat stylus. Took a few clicks for that to read. Probably those pins need to be cleaned. Nothing unusual. Do I have my testing software in here? Yes, I do. Okay. I'll usually do this later. I didn't calibrate as well, so... yeah, it looks good. Alright, let's get this back apart. I'm gonna adhere that. Adhere the bezel to the bottom screen. Move the stylus back. And really, that's kind of an aside, but DSi XL capture kits are coming out. I'm really deciding whether or not I'm just going to halt all my sales, put a whole bunch of consoles together, and maybe even install capture cards in them and sell them. I know I mentioned it in the Discord that they were a part of, but man, I really don't think there's a market for these things. There's a market for DSi XLs, but good shaped DSi XLs are already going over, or really good shaped DSi XLs are going for over $100. Add a $100 plus. Wow, if the kits that they're selling for the new 3DS are anything to go off of, if they're selling the kits for $100, you have to sell these DSIs for nearing $300 just to offset the amount of effort it takes to Dremel down a portion of the bottom shell, which from their current plans is to put it somewhere right here, which would be dremeling down all of this. Should work. It shouldn't interfere with the stylus, but I won't really know until they come out with it, and I don't need to take this out. when they come out with it and we see kind of what the final product looks like, how much work actually needs to be done into modifying the shell. The shell will have to be modified. That's non-negotiable. So I'm just gonna... Okay, when I was first putting in this bottom shell, it was really behaving like maybe I didn't put the digitizer in right, like maybe I misremembered how to put it in. That may have been the case, and when I sort of pressed it down a little, it figured itself out. Alright, so put that carefully out of the way. I guess right here works. Now I have tape for mobile phones from what the description was. It's just basically super thin double-sided tape. And I bought this specifically for these bezels. And you can see I've gone through quite a bit of this already. I'm halfway through the roll. I made sure it measured perfectly. And this is a little, this stuff's way overkill for really what this bezel's doing. I'm not holding a phone together. Okay, something like that. Need to pull up this corner and trim it off so I don't have too much overhang. All right. I really wish the top screens were like this and had these little removable bezels. The top screens are not like this. They have plastic lenses that have the colored borders within the lens. Practically speaking, replacements are incredibly hard to find. And, well, the problem with those plastic lenses is they get scratched and marred up. Where these are just pieces of plastic. Who cares if they get scratched? It's not the display. I'm going to gently place this without touching the underside so it doesn't stick to my fingers. Kind of make sure there's a groove around it that it will sit in. And without not doing that, it's very sticky stuff. I just need to place the screen in and commit. Tighten the little screw on my sliding up and down a little too easy. Just double check how this looks. Looks good. Lost the something popped out. Oh, part of the diffuser. Or the actual diffuser. Where in the heck did that get whisked away? Oh, right here, okay. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna look at the game card slot. Charger. These all looked like they were in pretty good shape. I have tools that I'll clean them with. Well, I think calling them tools kind of hypes them up a little. I never did check if this thing charges. Should. I have no reason to expect it doesn't. It turns on. So the only fuse I need to check is right here, right below the charge port. Check again. Yep. Now I can put in all of the screws, not just a few. Just hit these battery contacts while I'm here. And there are 4 motherboard black screws. I'm going to double check that. I'm pretty sure this one right next to the battery contacts is a black screw. I think the last like 8 or so consoles I put together were all DSIs and they only had 3. Um, 4 motherboard black screws. Okay. I'm referencing the screw guides I've made on GBA Temp. Not the most comprehensive pieces of information, but for what I needed them for, it is perfect. I know exactly where everything goes. And if I find a screw I don't know where it belongs, I can do a very quick measurement and determine what it is. And here I am saying the OEM shells are nice and rigid and I don't strip them. That silver screw I put in the main motherboard was stripped. So, oopsie, I don't know when I did that. Maybe when I disassembled it. It's sort of the least important screw, so I'm not really worried about it. It's got 2 screw posts. Okay, so pretty much the main assembly of the DSi is done. Now I got the bottom shell. Now there's kind of an annoying amount of parts here. Should first start with the SD card door. And with the SD card door and the shoulder buttons, I really want to match the condition of the bottom shell. So it's not like too weird. I think that's a really good fit. I got lucky. When I get to the more common colors, like if I'm working on a blue, a midnight blue, or a burgundy, it can be just a lot of comparing a whole bunch of them and going like, these kind of look alike. What I need to do is sit down and do what I did with my DSIs and just assemble all these lower shell assemblies. So then when I come to actually assembling these consoles, I'm not gonna be wasting all of this time. Then there's this little piece of metal to separate the SD card reader from the okay. Thankfully the SD card slot cover doesn't really matter. I misspoke. Not the SD card slot cover, but the stylus holder and this thing. I am not seeing any pink ones. I wonder if they used a different color. Or they just used red. Oh, I see one right here. Okay, it is just red. For DSi XL. Yeah, it's just like this color. Yeah, I wasn't finding any pink. That was really weird. Battery door cover I'll get later. Let me get the volume buttons. I also need to get the little membrane for those. Oh, and there's also shoulder button cover, or the shoulder button, like, hold down parts. Good positive. Negative. Just so I can get these bags out of my way. Thankfully, these are labeled per side. Right, left. Oh, hey, look at that. Since I'm in my toolbox, I can grab a stylus. Okay, let me get this in real quick. I believe they went in this way, so negative, positive. All right. Grab, find good shoulder buttons. Left isn't that bad. I have a lot more pink colored shoulder buttons than I really know what to do with. A lot of the pink consoles I've gotten had broken shells, which means all the associating parts are going to be in excess. Yeah, these shoulder buttons are going to be good. They'll line up really nicely. What I'll do is pop in the volume up and down circuitry. I need to get springs and pivots, which I can just pull out of here since I kind of overflowed on springs. Bend that down. All right, so for these, I think I'll just do a full round of gold. I say that because there's a couple different screw patterns, or different screws that were used. It doesn't necessarily matter which one was which. Obviously, there's no way I would really be able to tell. Missed one on the right bumper. Okay. Not the nicest fit. Good old aftermarket stylus. But it's pink, so... brush off those connectors with a little bit of rubbing alcohol so they're nice and clean from all my hand goo. Putting on these buttons so much easier than on like the new 2DS XL. Right, I need to put the shell's top screen screws. That one still has a little bit of adhesive on it, or the Nintendo used a double-sided tape on top of these screws to keep the screw covers on. Sometimes that sticks to the screw covers, other times it gets left behind. All that I have left is a battery cover, which I have a few pinks to choose from. Again, I've gotten quite a few pinks, but not many in good shape. I think this one's... I'll see if I can find the one that, like, there's a scratch right up here. I wonder if there's one that has that scratch. I can marry it back to its... Is this it? No, it kind of goes in the wrong direction. Oh, those are stickers I never took off. Silly me. Oh well, I think I'll use this one. It's about the same-ish condition as the rest of the shell. That's kind of what I aim for. This screw is a little worn down here, but it shouldn't matter. Yeah, it's not skipping on me. Oh, well, it would kind of help if I put the bottom shell screws in. I'm trying to remember. I think the... Okay, the metallic rose and white console uses exclusive silver screws on the back. Doesn't matter, it's aesthetic. But this is a metallic rose, so I want to respect that. I pulled 6 silver screws off. I'm going to put 6 silver screws back on. And then instead of a fine threaded screw, it uses a coarse silver screw. Again, aesthetic reasons. Oh, I guess that one's stripped too. Well, it's not that bad. Okay. I'm going to check the fitment on everything. I know I've been kind of having weird issues with the shell bulging around here. And it looks good. Checking the seams now. Good. I think that is good. Welcome to the world. Rose Gold DSI Excel. You have a battery of tests between you and hopefully being sold off. So if you're the lucky owner of this console, well, congratulations. You just saw it be built from scratch to finish, more or less.